This is you, this is the mirror, and this is the projection you see, the reflection the mirror provides to you. This is your 3D world. Now, what does the mirror reflect back to you? Whatever it is that you have inside of yourself, your inner world. So if you have this program, this idea inside of yourself, your 3D world will mirror back to you that very thing through your mirror. So if you want to change anything in your 3D world, which is your projection, you get to make changes inside of yourself, never outside. Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Fernando and welcome to my channel. Have you heard of the mirror principle? If you're struggling with anything in your video game, in your 3D world, this video is going to help you because we got it all backwards. We see the projection, we see what's going on in our lives, which is here, the projection, and we don't like it. And what do? We begin fighting it, we begin resisting it, we begin claiming what is ours in the 3D world that's not even real. It's called a projection. It's called a hologram for a reason. Things are not as they seem. And so all your power lies inside of yourself. All of your power lies in the inner world, because the inner world is the world of cause, is where reality actually exists, is reality itself, if that makes sense. And so we are giving all of our power away when we begin fighting the outer world, the world of effect, trying to change it, trying to get different results. And that's why life seems so hard when we're totally asleep in the video game. It's a trap. And so this video will help you gain clarity on how reality works and what you get to do in order to see a different reflection in the mirror. The mirror principle's premise is don't expect to see a different reflection if you don't change your expression first. And this is easy to test. Stand in front of a mirror and frown. And then try to change mentally the image you see in the mirror. Try to see a smile without changing your expression. Are you going to be able to do that? No, right? And so reality is the same thing. Reality is a mind projection. There is no out there. The world is you pushed out. All of these phrases are boiling down to the same thing. That there's no out there. What you see is a reflection of what's inside of yourself. And so as long as you're fighting the 3D and trying to manipulate the world of form in order to achieve and to get what you want and to see different reflections, as long as you're doing that, you are creating hell on earth. You're not having a ball. You are just lost in the game, totally asleep. And so it's time to wake up. The planet has finally caught up with such beautiful metaphysical principles. And that's why we talk about it so openly these days. And we're gaining more and more awareness as to how reality really works. So if this resonates with you, then stick around because you're gonna like it, and this has the potential to change and transform your life. And so for us to better understand this, think of a computer file. You wrote like a Word document you have in the computer, and you have a text that you wrote, and it's there in the file. You wanna print it out, right? So you connect your printer, you press print, and then you have your printout, and then you're holding it, you're looking at it, and you see a mistake. You see a typo in the text, and you're like, ooh, that's bad. I don't want this here. That's a horrible mistake. That's a horrible typo. I don't want it, right? What do you do if that's the case? when we're going about our lives and we're experiencing the 3D world, which, by the way, we choose to, we are eternal spiritual beings having a temporary, limited human experience. Things are not as they seem. This is the world of form. But when we come here, we forget everything. We think we're the body. We think we're finite. We think that when the body dies, we die along with it, right? For the most part. And so it's part of the game, it's part of the design, and we choose to come here, play the game of forgetfulness. And so when we're here and we see a mistake, we see something we don't like in the printout of reality, in the 3D world, right? And we want to change it, what we do is we go and try to fix the problem in the outside world. We're fighting the 3D. We're trying to manipulate it. So going back to the printer example, it's like you have your printout, you see the typo, and you're like, you're scratching it, you're writing on top of it, right? But then the printer will print the file again, and the typo is going to be the same. You will still experience that typo in the future printouts, right? And then you keep scratching every page you get your hands on, and you're like so frustrated, so pissed, so like, why does this keep happening to me? And you keep scratching the typo and you keep writing on top of it, and nothing changes. And you're just more mad, right? And so if we regained consciousness of how things worked, we would just, come to the conclusion that it's much more effective to go back to the computer, pull up that file, fix the problem there, change what we want to change in the source, which is the inner world, the file in the computer, right? So that the next printouts will reflect the change that we made in the file. So you are the file. You are cosmic energy. You are the light. You are love. And when we come here and experience the human body and the 3D world, fundamental reality is you. You are consciousness. When you die, when the physical body dies, you keep going because you cannot not exist. You are consciousness itself. You are awareness itself. That's localized here in this experience right now, but when the body dies, you keep going. And so you are all the power. And when we're here in the body, we are equipped with a conscious mind. We also have the subconscious mind, right? And the subconscious mind is the part of our mind that carries the programs that we install in our subconscious minds as we go along, as we live our lives, right? But we don't install it actively. They get installed in our subconscious mind automatically, especially when we're kids. When you are a small child and you're from 2 to 7 years of age, your subconscious mind is wide open. When you're that age, the constant ongoing brainwave state you're in is the theta brainwave state. That's the hypnosis state, meaning you're totally programmable. So when you're that young, all sorts of programs get installed here in your subconscious mind. A lot of them come from your parents, from your teachers, from people around you, and a lot of them don't really serve us. But these programs that we carry in our subconscious minds is what we ultimately see in the reflection. Interesting, isn't it? And so a lot of times we're seeing stuff we don't want, but they're just reflections of the programs that, got installed in our minds when we were young. And that's why we keep seeing them. And we're fighting them. We're having a horrible time. We're creating hell on earth. But you are all the power. And if you remember this and you know this, and you know that the world is you pushed out, and that you get to take responsibility for everything that you see. And I'm talking about Ho'oponopono here, right? everything you experience is a reflection of what's inside of yourself. So instead of fighting the 3D world and resisting it and resenting it, first of all, what you resist persists, right? So you're just perpetuating the nonsense you don't enjoy, right? But instead of resisting it and pushing it away, how about taking responsibility? And that might be a little bit hard to swallow when you're presented with an unpleasant situation. But that's where all of your power lies. I had an experience in ninth grade where my teacher at the time called me out in front of all the kids because I drew something inappropriate in arts class. Innocently, I was just having a good time. She was mad, she was pissed. She called me out in front of everyone. And so unconsciously, I got this program in my subconscious mind that older women that are the authority, they, abuse me. And so as I kept living my life and I was growing up, I kept experiencing different female figures that reflected that energy back to me because the program was in my subconscious mind. And so the world will just keep reflecting that back to you so you can grow, actually. This is about transmutation, taking responsibility for the things that you see and you don't like is about transmutation. It's not your fault, but it's your responsibility because it's your video game. It's your mind projection. It's not anyone else's. So it can't be someone else's responsibility. But that's not about shame. It's not about guilt. And it's not about being your fault. It's your responsibility. And that's good news because that's where your power lies. And so obviously I didn't know any of these things growing up, but I do remember experiencing female figures representing that program in my mind, and reflecting back to me that energy for me to transmute, meaning for me to not react, not try to change and manipulate the 3D world, take responsibility, remain as the light before that frequency that's low, so that that frequency that's low can rise up, elevate, and go back to light, therefore transmute. Is this making sense? And so many female figures presented themselves to me as lessons, but I didn't know better. I just felt horrible and I resented all of them. One of these figures is a distant aunt who's in the family. We're not related by blood, but she's been in the family for over 2 decades. And I had a few years back, prior to my spiritual awakening, I had an experience with her where I felt she abused me and she didn't care about me and she didn't listen to me and support me. So I felt rejected, I felt abused, and I reacted and I resented her, and it was horrible. A little bit after that, I had my spiritual awakening, and that happened while I was getting my first Reiki sessions. And so I met this woman, this Reiki practitioner, and I started going to her and I started asking her about the law of attraction. I don't even know why. She couldn't really answer them very well, but that thing got that spark, blossomed within myself. And I remember coming back home after the first session and I started researching the law of attraction, and that was the very day that I stepped on the path. But anyway, I kept going to her, but we were not really vibing. And before she performed the Reiki energy work, she would always sit me down and talk to me, sort of like therapy sessions. And I was not feeling it. I was not having it. And then the last day I was there, I was like, can we just do the energy thing without talking? And she was like, no. And I was feeling like the authority figure. She felt like a school teacher, and I felt like a 9-year-old almost. So again, the world reflecting back to me old patterns because the program was there, right? But I had already been on the path. I'd been on the path for like a month, and I learned so much, you know, during the first few months, and I'm still learning quite a bit, which I'm very grateful for. But, you know, I had already known Ho'oponopono when I last visited her, and she was like, no, sit here, we're gonna talk. I began talking, like my energy was all over the place because I was talking. I didn't feel like talking. And then as we were talking, she started like making faces. We were not vibing. And I said something, she said something back. It was kind of weird. I don't even remember exactly, but I felt like she was judging the things that I was saying. Then I lay on the table. She performed the Reiki thing. I almost cried. I was like holding back a cry. It was kind of weird. Anyway, we're done, and all I want to do is just leave the room. All I'm thinking is, I'm just gonna leave and I'm not coming back because this is not working. This is kind of weird. And her office was like really tiny. And so I was grabbing my things to leave, and she was standing in front of me. And I just wanted to leave, and she kept talking to me. She started touching me. She was like telling me what to do, I guess. Like my frequency was off. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here. She wouldn't like get out of my face. She was just like blocked. She was blocking me. I couldn't leave before she like stepped back, if that makes sense. And I was like, please let me leave. Please let me leave. And she was like, you need to do this. You need to do that. Oh, yada, yada. I'm like, please let me leave. Please let me leave. And she wouldn't. And then I yelled. It was not pretty. And then she stepped back, and then I left. And then I got into my car. And then I remember sitting in the car and going like, oh my gosh, Ho'oponopono. Oh my gosh, Ho'oponopono. It was so weird. It was so weird. Like my frequency was totally off. I was totally triggered, but I knew better. I was like, that's not the trigger way, is not the way. So Ho'oponopono. And I began cleaning on it. I drove back home, cleaning on it. My energy was everywhere. I just kept cleaning. And so the next few days, like that story, that what had happened was like stuck in my mind, and I kept replaying what had happened, and I kept doing Ho'oponopono on top of it, you know, seeing if that would help me, if I was able to feel better. And it did help, but it was, wow, it was so much. It was so much, but I kept at it. I cleaned. Whenever she would like resurface in my mind, I would clean on it again. And I wished her, both of us actually, I wished us healing. And I kept cleaning on it. And yeah, and then after a few weeks, I was like, wow, this is feeling better now. And so I had that thing in my consciousness, in my awareness, and I would clean on it. And as I kept cleaning on it with Ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, I started to see a shift in that frequency. And now when I think of her, I just send her love, and I send her blessings. And so I infused the situation with love as best I could, because love is what I am, love is what you are. And the more I did it, the better it became, and the better I felt. And the feeling I have now is that I was able to transmute that lower, denser frequency. And so when you clean on a situation like this, that program gets erased from your subconscious mind, and so therefore you stop experiencing it. And not only do you clean it for yourself, but you clean it for the collective as well. You know, we are all connected, we are one. So this is very powerful. Love is the only way out. It's with love. So when you see something, you're experiencing something that you don't like, if you are able to be the love that you are before that situation and not react and not engage with it and not try to manipulate and try to be right and prove yourself right over someone else, that's how things transmute. And that's how you change the outer world, which is a reflection. It's an inside game. So you change the cause, the effect is different. If you're fighting with the effect, you are getting totally lost. There's this famous YouTuber. He's in the same category as I am, spirituality, reality creation. I admire him. I resonate with him. I'm even in one of his programs, really, you know? So I follow him and I watch his content every now and then. And so the other day I was watching him talk about this experience he's had with, you know, authoritative figures that reflect back to him situations where he feels things are not fair. You know, and I admire his vulnerability because he was very like open when he was sharing this story. And as he was doing that, he was sharing that story, I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, I wish I could say something to him, because he was sharing this story about this interaction he has with this woman who represents an authoritative figure to him. And that's a reflection from childhood dynamics. And they were going back and forth. They were not, you know, finding common ground. And as he was describing the situation, I could sense in his energy, and he was aware of it because he was like, this is active in my field. And he talks about reality creation. He's aware of all of these things. But it was interesting to see him talk about it. And it was almost like the way he referred to her, it was almost like he wanted her to see that he was doing his best and she was being too demanding, and things were not fair. And so it was almost like he was that's how I felt, okay? It was almost like he was like, I can't believe she's doing this, because on my part, I'm being a great person. I'm doing all of the things that I'm expected to do. You're too demanding. You are, you know, creating problems where they don't exist. And when we're like pointing a finger in any way, shape, or form, this is my point here, okay? We're pointing a finger. Even if we know these things and we're like pointing a finger, like, I can't believe you don't see that I am doing great. Why are you being so demanding? You're fighting the 3D. There are no excuses. And when we do that, it's like automatically we place ourselves in the victim seat. In the victim seat. Does that make sense? So if we're pointing a finger and saying, hey, you are being too much, you are being demanding, it's like I am being the victim here. And when we're the victim in any way, shape, or form, we're beginning to fall asleep in the game. And so it was interesting to see that, because if that's still showing up for him in his video game, it's because things have not been transmuted. And so I couldn't help but think, man, do some Ho'oponopono on it. You've talked about it in videos, you know? And so it's very funny because sometimes it's hard to swallow. The situation with the Reiki woman, for me, it was very hard to swallow. But it's like, if we begin blaming in any way, shape, or form, and we're like pointing a finger to the 3D world, that's never the way out. We're just energizing it because we're giving our attention to that. And so we're making bigger that very thing that we're wanting to push away, right? And so that keeps showing up for transmutation. And so Ho'oponopono is your way out of hell. Because if you're able to take responsibility, and that's what Ho'oponopono is all about, taking responsibility. You see something you don't like, an experience, a woman threatening you, giving you a hard time, it's my video game, it's my responsibility. Love thy enemy. I was thinking, man, send that woman love, send that woman love. Neville Goddard has spoken in lectures about cases where people would be like, oh, I hate my boss, or I hate this person I work with. And as as you do that, as you hate the person you work with or whatever, you are visualizing that, right? And you're like, oh, I hate them. They take me for granted. They don't see my value. Like you're visualizing that, you're creating that. There is mind and heart coherence, and that's where your power lies for manifestation. Mind and heart coherence, thoughts and feelings that align, right? And so you create that. And Neville Goddard said in one of his lectures to this woman who was seeing Neville Goddard, he was like, you're going to visualize love about this person. You are going to imagine him saying that you're amazing, that you're doing an amazing job, that you're so cool. And so in her head, she began having a completely different relationship with that person. And she reported that things changed. Like out of the blue, the guy just started like seeing her differently, because the world will always agree with you because it's the mind projection. If you think you're beautiful and worthy and handsome and amazing, if you feel like that, the world will reflect that back to you again, because it's a projection. So watching his video, I couldn't help but think, man, send her love. Start sending every woman that presents this situation, this dynamic back to you. Send them love. And and that's what I felt was lacking in his speech and in his awareness of the whole situation, So that's why I'm giving this example, because that's the way out. And a lot of times it's not comfortable. But the more you do it, the better it becomes, So, yeah. Hopefully this is helpful to you, because you are all the power. The power lies inside of yourself. Everything is you pushed out. Reality is an illusion. It's tricking us at all times. Einstein told us reality is an illusion, albeit a persistent one. It's very persistent. It's happening right now. Things feel, out there, but it's not. Reclaim your power. Take responsibility for everything that happens to you, okay? And I'm talking more about the negative ones, okay? For transmutation. And shine your light upon that and watch your reality transform. And so if this message resonates with you, if you feel drawn to the practice of Ho'oponopono, I have made a free guided Ho'oponopono sleep meditation using binaural beats, Hemi-Sync, guided by myself over here. It's free. All you have to do is click the link in the description box and get yours. And if you want to understand more about Ho'oponopono and apply it in your life, I'm going to go ahead and link a playlist with all my Ho'oponopono videos right here, so you can go ahead and check it out right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you. From my house to the world. And it's beautiful. And I am grateful. Hey.